All right, guys, so in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at and breaking down the PFF grades from yesterday. That horrible loss versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, diminishing the Packers' playoff odds heavily down to near 25%. Actually just put out a video on their odds if they win out, who we need to win, who we need to lose. So if you want to go check that out, click the link right above. But in today's video, like I said, we're going to be looking at all the PFF grades. It sucks doing this after a loss. I would much rather be doing this after a win. There is a lot of bad grades on defense. I'll just say that right now. Furthermore, just showcasing that the Packers need to fire Joe Barry. I think we are all saying it. We all want it to happen. So let's dive down into these PFF grades. Stay tuned. The season for a fresh cut is finally here with today's video sponsor, Manscaped. The leaders in below-the-waist grooming just launched their 5th generation lawnmower to help you avoid a silent night in the bedroom this year. Take care of your special snowflake with Manscaped and watch your South Pole shine like never before. Get the best stocking stuffer of all by heading to manscaped.com and using my code BASS20 to get 20% off plus free shipping. Mrs. Claus will thank you. Starting with the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra, this is the crown jewel of the holidays and dare I say the best ball trimmer of all time. This electric razor's advanced skin-safe technology is a lifesaver and is known to reduce nicks and cuts. Anybody in the family have too much scruff? Look no further than the Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Does your dad have nasty nose hairs? Save the day with the Weed Whacker Ear and Nose Trimmer 2.0. So guys, for a great Christmas gift or for yourself, head to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with code BASS20. That's 20% off plus free shipping your entire order with BASS20 at manscaped.com. Say ho 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 to a well-groomed mistletoe with Manscaped. All right, so we're going to start on offense because that was the promising thing yesterday, at least way more than the defense was. A lot of these rookies really showcasing their skills. So let's start on the offense and bring up the screen here. And at the top of the list is Rasheed Walker with an 88.7, a 90.7 run block, and a 79.9 pass block. And this is definitely his highest graded game of the year and of his career by a far margin. We see before that, week 9 against the Rams, a 76.9. This has been his highest graded game. And I was saying this in my game preview. He's been great the last month to month and a half. And you know, before that, he kind of struggled a little bit, and I was like, okay, Josh Nijman should be getting some snaps at left tackle, and they were doing that more so than they do now. But now Rasheed Walker is playing at a much higher level, and he got 41 total snaps where Josh Nijman got 19. So they're still rotating a little bit, and Josh Nijman had a good game as well, but Rasheed Walker much better in terms of PFF. So really liked what I've been seeing from him in the last month and a half. Then we have Tay Wicks, who also had his best game of the season and his career. He had a 78.8 and a 78.5 receiving grade, had just under 100 yards receiving, I think at 97. And it's crazy. The Packers haven't had a 100-yard wide receiver this year in any game, and Jordan Love may finish with 30-plus touchdowns and 4,000 yards. Like, I don't know if that's ever happened in the NFL. It's actually insane. Like, it's definitely happened where a team hasn't had a 1,000-yard wide receiver and a 1,000-yard rusher, and the quarterback goes for over 4,030 touchdowns. But I'm not sure if it's ever been where in a game they've never had a 100-yard wide receiver. That is pretty crazy. Just showcasing, you know, how many different players have been implemented into this offense due to injury, due to other things, and Jordan Love has simply just made it work. It's impressive. Tay Wicks has been super impressive. Really love what I've seen from him so far. Then Jaden Reed as well. Same thing. He's a third-ranked offensive player here at a 76.3. I thought he had a nice game as well. Had that really awesome touchdown, a great, amazing throw, I'll say, from Jordan Love, the right side of the end zone. Really nice job getting both of his feet down. Probably should have had 2 touchdowns that first drive. Jordan Love missed him on that first throw, but both Tay Wicks and Jaden Reed really stepping up. You know, right now their ceiling is super high, and it's like, are they receiver 1 and 2 in a couple of years? We really don't know. You know, Christian Watson continues to have injuries and can't really stay on the field. Romeo Doubs, you know, is his ceiling a wide receiver 2? I keep talking about that, but, you know, we see Wicks and Reed in their rookie seasons, you know, basically, you know, being the wide receiver 1 and 2 at this point in the season. It's super impressive. Elton Jenkins was the 4th highest graded player here at 75.5. Nice to see a bounce back game from Elton. Good pass block grade, pretty good run block grade. Zach Tom was the 5th highest, so we have 3 linemen in the top 5, 4 linemen in the top 6. So offensive line, excellent job yesterday. He had a 73.0. Pass block good, run block good. Josh Nyman, 71.2, great pass block, below average run blocking. Malik Heath had 20 total snaps and was graded high. I think he had 2 or 3 catches in this game, so he definitely stepped up. 71.1 grade. Tucker Kraft here with a 69.6. We know how much Tucker Kraft has stepped up into this tight end #1 role. Not a good pass blocking grade, but not even worried about that. Pretty good above average run blocking grade and overall grade. Tucker Kraft, man, hopefully finally is going to break this 3rd round curse. I'm super excited for the future of this tight end room with Kraft and Musgrave and what they can do with both of those guys on the field with 2 tight end personnel and all of that sort. Bo Melton had 18 total snaps in this game, a 68.8. Jordan Love, 66.6, so above average. Not to what we're used to seeing from him the prior weeks outside of the Giants game. We see a 91 against KC and 86 against Detroit. Not terrible, not as bad as last week, but Jordan Love, in my opinion, I thought he played really well. I thought he did enough in this game, for this offense, and you would say, well, they only scored like 14 true points where the other touchdown was, after a fumble recovery on the goal line. I get that, but the defense lost his game. It wasn't on the offense. Jordan Love still impressed me. He's still, the future at quarterback going forward. When you watch the film, he had multiple, excellent throws. We're talking, he had a couple no-look throws. That one throw, like I said, to Jaden Reed in the corner of the end zone, just absolute insane throws. And, I'm excited for the future with Jordan Love, these young talent at wide receiver and tight end. John Runyon on here, also a 66.6, good pass blocking, a little poor in the run blocking regard, but more interestingly enough, go down here to Sean Ryan real quick. Yes, he graded bad, but this is the most snaps he's ever had at 29, where John Runyon had 31. So it's almost becoming a 50-50 split. Who knows why the Packers did that? Maybe because Vita Vea plays and he's more of like an immovable force down low, and Sean Ryan kind of matches up better against him in the running game. But nice to see Sean Ryan getting more snaps. Like I said, I know he graded bad via PFF, but I still want him starting at right guard regardless. Aaron Jones, 29 total snaps, a 63.0. Romeo Dobbs, 60.4, had a couple catches, or I think 3 catches for 30 yards. Pat Taylor had 26 total snaps, so almost again a 50-50 split between Aaron Jones and Patrick Taylor. And I know you want Aaron Jones on a pitch count, but it's like I don't understand doing 50-50 with Patrick Taylor. They were doing it with A.J. Dillon as well. It doesn't make any sense to me. And yes, Patrick Taylor has ran decently well, but Aaron Jones in the first drive ran like 9 carries for 40-something yards and then ended the game with like 50-something yards. So it's crazy to me that happened. That's just a consistent theme with the Green Bay Packers this year. Aaron Jones getting hot and then disappearing the rest of the game, whether that's due to him or the Packers simply not putting him in the game. Ben Sims, a 53.3. DeGuara, 52.7. Sean Ryan, as we talked about, low grade here, 47.5. Josh Myers, even lower. Bad game for Josh Myers. He was pretty much, outside of, him and Sean Ryan, every other lineman graded pretty well. Josh Myers, a 45.0, and Kenyon Drake, a 43.2. Only 5 snaps, but probably because he almost fumbled that ball in that handoff exchange, somehow held on to it. Still is crazy to watch that and see how he held on to it. Quickly going over pressures allowed and sacks. Sean Ryan did allow 2 pressures. No sacks, though, just 2 hurries. Kenyon Drake allowed a pressure and a sack, so that's why he's the 15.8 pass block grade there. Patrick Taylor, also a pressure and sack. So the 2 sacks on Jordan Love was due to running back miss protection there and, them allowing, a free runner at the quarterback and Jordan Love getting sacked. Rasheed Walker allowed 1 pressure. Zach Tom, Elton Jenkins, Josh Myers also a pressure as well. Now flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, and man, this is where it gets pretty bad. We have one guy, JJ Enagbari, with an amazing game. He had that strip sack, awesome play by him. A 90.7, 72 tackle grade, 93.4 pass rush grade, 1 pressure, 1 sack, and 25 total snaps. But then it drops way down. Then it drops all the way below. We don't have another player over a 70 grade. Now, high 60s is still above average. 60 is average. So all these guys are still above average grades. TJ Slayton, I thought he had an excellent game. I thought he'd be a higher grade than this. Lucas Van Ness had a sack. He had a 68.3. John Owens actually was the highest graded defensive back, and no one played good in the defensive backfield, so that says a lot. He had a 66.3. Rashawn Gary had 4 total pressures. No sacks, but 4 pressures, a 62.4. Kenny Clark, a 62.0. 4 pressures, 2 sacks. Still crazy to me that a player can get 4 pressures, 2 sacks, doesn't miss a single tackle, and he's a 62.0. Like, what about his game made him a 62.0? I feel like PFF does this to Kenny Clark every single week, where it's like if any other defensive tackle in the league had 4 pressures and 2 sacks, he'd have like a high 80 grade, like 100%. Anthony Johnson Jr. only had 4 snaps, even with Darnell Savage, being out of this game. Then we get to the below average, below 60 overall. And that's Preston Smith with a 55.0, Devontae Wyatt a 51.5, both of which did have a pressure. Devontae Wyatt did have a sack. Rudy Ford a 51.0. Carl Brooks 50.1, and then, oh man, we get below 50 here. I mean, we're talking like half of this defense with a below 50, just under half. 49.0 for Devondre Campbell, awful game for him. I'm surprised his coverage grade's even that high at a 51.7. It was just an absolute trash game for the linebackers and defensive backs. Nixon, 48.1. Horrible tackle grade for both Campbell and Nixon. Eric Stokes, 46.8 on his return. Not a good game. Ballantyne, 46.0. Not a good game. Valentine, 34.4. Not a good game. Quay Walker, 29.5. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And Colby Wooden, 26.6, but only 15 snaps. You're really worried about the Quay Walker, the Valentine, Eric Stokes, Keyshawn Nixon, Devondre Campbell, all these starters, man, with such a low grade. Like, if we look at coverage grade and sort it by that, the highest coverage grade, we're not even going to count Anthony Johnson Jr. because he had 4 snaps, is John Owens with a 60.4 at 62 snaps. We're not going to count Nick Barre because, he only had 1 coverage snap, but below that. But Rudy Ford, below average coverage grade, 57.2. Campbell, 51.7. Preston, doesn't matter. Keyshawn Nixon, 44.9. Stokes, 40.7. Valentine, 40.4. Ballantyne, 39.6. Quay Walker, 28.3. Man, they got toasted through the air. Baker Mayfield, the first ever opposing quarterback to have a perfect passer rating in Lambeau Field. Man, if that doesn't tell you enough to fire your defensive coordinator after 3 years of the same bullshit, come on, guys. Come on. Like, how is he not fired right now? We're sitting at 2 p.m. Eastern on a Monday after that. And since we're on the topic of coverages, let's go over what every defensive back and linebacker allowed in the passing game. We'll start with Carrington Valentine, and you see these grades for these other players on the Buccaneers. Chris Godwin, a 93.0, David Ward, 91.9. Man, it's crazy. So Carrington Valentine allowed 6 receptions on 7 targets for 68 yards. Quay Walker allowed 4 receptions on 4 targets for 69 yards. Eric Stokes, 4 receptions on 4 targets for 67 yards. Nixon, 3 receptions on 3 targets for 52 yards. Campbell, 3 receptions on 3 targets for 89 yards. Man, it is so bad. Rudy Ford actually didn't allow a reception on 2 targets. I guess that's interesting because the cover 3 look that Mike Evans scored on, in my opinion, was on Rudy Ford. The Buccaneers drew up a perfect play call against it. So more so, I guess, on Joe Barry. But it's not on it. It wasn't on Eric Stokes, which let's see if they actually tied it to Eric Stokes. They did. They tied that. That's weird to me. That's what makes me question PFF sometimes. Like, Eric Stokes is in a cover 3 outside shade. He's supposed to be covering the quarter, like, a corner route or something of that sort, or a fade. That touchdown, in my opinion, wasn't on Eric Stokes, but I guess PFF has that on him. I think it's more so on Joe Barry calling a cover 3 with no disguise over and over and over again and getting beat. But nonetheless, John Owens allowed 1 reception on 2 targets for 22 yards. Preston Smith, cornerback number 1, only allowed 1 reception for 14 yards. So, man, they got torn up in the air, and it's just plain and simple. Like, this pass defense, so soft coverage, it's just trash. So that does it for the PFF grades, Week 15, Packers versus Buccaneers. I tried to run through that quickly as possible, just like last week against the Giants. Kind of want to throw that one in the rearview mirror. The Packers do still have a chance to make the playoffs if they do win out. They actually have a very high chance if they do win out. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys coming by. If you did enjoy the video, please leave a like down below. I do a PFF video after every game, win or loss, as much as it sucks to look at. But I appreciate you guys coming by. I'll catch you on the next one. And as always, go Pack Go.